All right, well, thanks very much, David. Let's dig a little deeper now, folks, with John Singer, a lawyer and partner at Singer Deutsch, Harvey Pitt, former chairman of the SEC, and Thomas Gorman, a former senior counsel at the SEC, who now defends the accused parties in cases like these. John, seems like every financial meltdown finally ends when we put someone on trial. We had junk bond wizard Mike Milken, jailed a few years after the crash of '87, on a rare set of charges, by the way, that the SEC never again pursued, I don't think, against any other defendant. After the internet bubble burst in 2000, we had Bernie Ebbers of WorldCom. He went to jail for, what was it, $11 billion accounting fraud, $12 billion. Dennis Kozlowski of Tyco, he went to prison. I think that was as much for the toga party and the $6,000 shower curtain as anything else. And a couple of Enron guys. Now we got Angelo Mozillo. John, what's really on trial here? Angelo's emails and his stock sales, or the fact that his company inflated the housing bubble by passing out easy money to unworthy customers?
Well, I think those emails are incredibly incriminating, and I think that's ultimately what's going to do Mr. Mozillo in. For example, privately, Mr. Mozillo was claiming that the products that were being touted to the public were allegedly toxic. Secondly, he was saying that the company was, quote unquote, flying blind. Now, they weren't telling the public that. They were representing to the public a very rosy picture. Also, you had a third set of circumstances where allegedly a 2006 audit revealed internally to the company, unbeknownst to the public, that 50% of people who were borrowing money and going into these Countrywide products were actually lying on their income statements. I think this is very analogous to what happened after the bubble of 2000, 2001 with Jack Grubman and Henry Blodgett. There, you had those individuals touting the performance and the viability of the companies that they were trying to garner banking fees from. And privately, they were writing that the companies were really not very strong at all. So it's a very similar thing.
Harvey Pitt, you know, I read through those email excerpts that the SEC provided today. I got to tell you, I don't see a smoking gun. I'm sure they looked at thousands upon thousands of emails, and they came up with 6 of them in which it looks to devil's advocate, like a CEO pointing out internally, hey, is this getting too risky? I'm wondering. And I don't know that a company has to disclose to the public all of its internal dynamics going back and forth as they're trying to figure it out. And furthermore, Harvey, this entire meltdown, no one out there called it right. So who says this guy's guilty?
Well, I think what you have here is a very different situation, Dennis. You've got a company that's telling the public one set of things, and then internally is conceding that what they're telling the public is inaccurate. There's just no excuse for that with a public company. I think this is a great example of SEC aggressiveness, but aggressiveness in a thoughtful way. And it shows that the enforcement program is completely back on track. In addition, you have Mozillo allegedly changing his own security selling plan when he was in possession of information that the public wasn't. I think it's a very damning case, and I think he's going to have a very hard time coming out of this.
Let's, Tom Gorman, let's talk about that stock sale plan that Harvey just mentioned. I mean, here's the thing, this supposed insider trading, it didn't involve suitcases of cash and secret tips. It involved this, what is it called, the 10b5-1, this very standard executive stock sale program that I believe was in part designed to avoid insider problems by setting up a regular schedule. Do you know, is this one of the first times the SEC has gone after insider charges involving a standard stock sale plan?
Well, in fact, Dennis, that's exactly right. And this is one of the first times that they've actually gone after one of these plans. And notice what the SEC doesn't say about these insider trading allegations. They say there's a standard plan here, which is under their rules, so executives like Mr. Manillo can sell their stock. They say there's an inside program where you've got to get pre-clearance from the general counsel. There's no allegation that none of this was done. All we have is he sold his stock. Well, he sold his stock on a prearranged, preset plan. So,
and if you wanted to sell your stock because he's selling, you could have sold your stock. They were disclosed, all of these sales, right? This isn't like some clone thing where the CEO's selling stock secretly.
Yeah, I don't think that's correct. I might add, at least the impression that I had from reading the materials quite quickly was that he altered his plan when he was already in possession of inside information. That, it seems to me, is quite a damaging allegation.
Well, he altered his plan, and then it took like a good 2 years before the company started to head south. Furthermore, one thing I wanted to ask John, perhaps, you know, if you knew it was going to blow up, since B of A bought Countrywide, I've been waiting for a huge extra round of charges on bad loans at Countrywide. Hasn't happened. Stuff hasn't blown up. Will that help the case for Mozillo?
Well, I think you're going to see that. But let me just pick up on a point that Tom mentioned about...
No, please pick up on my point first.
Okay, on your point, Bank of America this is the tip of the iceberg, I think, as you know. What we've seen here with Mozillo today is really the first of many to come. And Bank of America has been fighting these charges in this investigation for quite some time. But let me just pick up for 1 second on what Tom said, because I think it's very important. This isn't about violating the plan, the 10b-5 plan that the company had. 10b-5 is a federal rule under Section 10b of the 34 Act, the Federal Securities Laws. And basically it says that if you're in possession of material, non-public information, you cannot trade on that information. This is separate than tippee liability. We've got the bags of cash you alluded to. This is a straight quintessential insider trading case whereby if you have possession of material information and it's non-public, i.e. what happened here with Countrywide, you can't trade on it. And this is exactly what Mozillo was doing between 06 and 07. He sold $140 million worth of stock when he had information that you and I did not have.
All right, a little bit too much of a long filibuster there. John, we got to wrap. Thank you, John, Harvey, Thomas. I'll bet all three of you a martini. He doesn't get convicted of any of this. I think it's flimsy. Thanks very much. Next up,